Hi everyone, I'm Cal Spriggs. Today I'm going to show you how I made a Desert Wastelands ambulance suitable for Necromunda Ash Wastes or any other post-apocalyptic setting.
I started this project with an ambulance I found on eBay. The shipping for this thing was actually more than the ambulance itself. It was listed for 99 cents. Now, it was pretty much the perfect scale. I actually just searched 1 to 42 scale ambulance, and as you can see, it's right there as far as size for the models I'm using. The back door is open as well, which I obviously struggled with here on the video. It was funny because I got them open real easy and started recording and they wouldn't come. But it's a nice plastic little model. It's perfect for what I want to do. And first thing I did with it was use Goo Gone and strip off all the stickers and stencils on it so that it looked clean. It had a whole bunch of just little stickers everywhere, and that got it cleaned up so that I could paint it. Next thing I did was take it and put masking tape on all the windows. I wanted those to stay clear. And then I started looking at how I wanted to attach bits and card and everything to it to make it look more beat up and Wastelander-esque. I wanted to put this ring mount on it. It didn't really fit, I felt, so I settled later on using just a magnet on it. And I just used super glue, getting little pieces here and there all over it. I like to use some corrugated paper, which I then hit with some Mod Podge to make it a little more solid. I used some bits of plastic card that I've had lying around in my bit bin for a while. Used some cut up bits of granny grating, just all kinds of little bits of scrap that look like the current owners of this vehicle have patched up holes and tried to keep this thing running. Now the goal here was to also leave certain areas of this model open. I wanted to do the red crosses on either side to show it's an ambulance. So that constrained me a bit on where I was able to put some of these items. I ended up putting a bit more over the back doors. I felt like it should look like those have been shot up as this thing flees away or as it pulls up and guys pile out. That gets shot up. So I put some corrugated paper back there to look like corrugated sheet metal that's been strapped on to reinforce this thing a little bit. And basically got it ready for priming. I took a lot of inspiration for this vehicle from movies like Mad Max and Car Wars and those kinds of just kind of over-the-top crazy movies. So I wanted this to be pretty over-the-top. This vehicle is going to be the primary vehicle for my son's Corpsegrinder Cult. So it's not going to be a pretty sight as it rolls up. It's not coming here to help you like a normal ambulance would. This vehicle's coming to pick you up and take you someplace you really don't want to go. So here I am kind of thinking about what I wanted to put on top, if I wanted to put anything on top. I decided just a simple magnet, and you can see here after I primed it. So I did prime it with Games Workshop's Wraithbone primer because I wanted that off-white, slightly dingy, weathered look, and I was going to make it a little more dingy and weathered. First thing I did was peel off the masking tape that I'd put on it, and this worked really well. It came right off. The only thing I had to worry about was not cutting my fingers off using a scalpel for something it's not meant for. But peeled this off real easy, and then just looked it over to see if I'd missed any spots. I did end up priming the tires. They were black rubber, and they ended up primed, but that was an easy thing to paint over them. I didn't glue these tires, again, because this vehicle is going to end up being my son's vehicle, so I don't care too much if it rolls. He can play with it for some other stuff. And yeah, so while I was peeling it off, I was thinking about where I wanted to stencil things and what colors I wanted to use. I decided to go with corn red because it seemed fitting, And I made a little masking tape stencil for painting the cross on the sides. You'll see that here in a second. Here it is with me in use of it. You can see the little bit of tape that I cut out with my scalpel there to the side, the X-Acto knife. And this made it super easy to paint that red cross on the side. And as far as any feelings of badness using a red cross on a vehicle that is obviously a combatant, well, this is the 41st millennium. No one would honor a red cross anyway. The stencil made painting this cross on there super easy, like I said, and I just used corn red, painted there over the stencil, and then peeled the stencil up, and I had the cross shape nice and crisp. There were a couple little areas where the tape hadn't quite stuck perfectly, and I just touched up on those. You can see me peeling it off, trying to save the stencil so I can use it on the other side there. But yeah, perfect little red cross there for my Wasteland ambulance. As far as cutting that out, I just used the cutting mat and used, I think, 2 centimeters on the side. You can see it's not perfect exactly, but I was able to touch up a little bit and clean it up. And then I just rinsed and repeated for the other side after the first side had dried, and went in there and did that. So here you can see me painting all the areas that ended up metallic. I painted black first. I used contrast Black Legion black, and it went on nice and smooth over the Wraithseer bone that I'd painted this thing, primed this thing. And yeah, very easy getting that on. Really stands out stark against the lighter color of the ambulance, and I like that. Just basically got it ready for all the metal that I was going to paint on it. At the time, I was also kind of thinking about how I was going to do all the other bits of this thing, where I was going to paint metal, where I was going to paint some other colors on it. I didn't want it to be a uniform 100% appearance. I'd already glued on bits of scrap metal for clear signs of battle damage, so I figured some of those bits of scrap metal are harvested off other vehicles or buildings or whatever. So I was thinking about the different colors I wanted to use. I'd also already decided on a name for this thing, so I was trying to decide where I was going to paint the name of the vehicle on it, and what other areas I needed to paint. And it's got headlights and taillights and some other stuff because it's designed to be a replica of an ambulance, and I figured which areas I wanted to paint those and which areas I didn't. The little section of granny grading I put on the side here really ended up looking really good. It's different enough from some of the other bits on here that it stands out. As they ran into a barricade or something and then needed to reinforce their vehicle, so they just threw that on there. The hood of this thing opens and closes. I at first thought that was kind of neat, and while I was painting it, it got really frustrating. I kind of wish I'd tacked it down or something, or glued it solid to the rest of the chassis, but it worked out all right. It's fine. It wasn't a big deal. It was just annoying at the time as I'd start painting and the hood would fly up and kind of bang around a little bit. Here's your friendly reminder to like and subscribe. I've got several other Wasteland vehicles that I've done for Necromunda Ash Wastes, and I've got a lot more videos coming. Once I'd had all the black painted on this thing, I went around and I started painting some of the detail work with the corn red. Like I said, I'd already picked out a name for it, so I started painting that name on. Now, on the sides and back, I wanted these easily legible by players and for anyone else. So whenever you're painting with this, having a good detail brush, taking your time, proper amount of paint there on the very tip of your brush is key. It's very delicate work. It's easy to get frustrated and easy to basically mess it up and then have to start over. So take your time, be patient, You don't have to get it perfect the first time. You can always paint over it and start over. And don't get in a rush. When I was doing this, I was using block letters. So I would do, at times, one letter at a time just to get it just right. I was also trying to fit this evenly across the two doors. I wanted one word on one door, one on the other. And you can see it taking shape there as I work. And with this, there was a whole lot of me kind of trying to figure out the spatial aspects and make sure I had room and that it would look even and all that. And as you can see it taking shape, I took inspiration from the name from basically the slang that police departments used to use back in the day about ambulances and coroners. And when they'd see one rolling up, they wouldn't say, "Oh, look, here's the ambulance." They'd be like, "Oh, here's the meat wagon." And it amused me to have the ambulance working for the Corpsegrinder Cult be called the meat wagon. So when you see this thing rolling up, they're not here to help you out and to patch you up or to get you to the hospital. They're here to load you up for processing. So that's what I went with for this thing. I think it adds a lot of flavor and a lot of character having a name like that. My son found it amusing anyway, but yeah, working on it when you're painting letters like this as well. Don't get too caught up on painting them right side up, or thinking of them even as letters. Think of them as details you're trying to paint, and it seemed to work better for me that way. Get the right angle and like I said, take your time. As you can see on the back there, I used a blue, contrast blue on those metal panels back there, and later on when I used metal, or dry brush metal, I came back and dry brushed them so they looked weathered and worn. Meat wagon, there we are. Now with this, I wanted to do this on both sides as well, and then on the hood, and you'll see the hood I was a bit daunted by, but got it out on the sides pretty quickly. There I am forgetting which way is up on the camera and realizing I had it upside down. And on the hood, I painted it in reverse because just like a normal ambulance, they want it readable from the rear view mirror. So as you're driving along, you look behind you and you see meat wagon coming up behind. You probably want to not pull over and drive as fast as you can to escape. But there it is with those details painted on. I also got the lights on the top, red and blue, just real simple. And then I took some orange, I believe this is Fire Slayer orange, Citadel Fire Slayer, and I went around stippling with this bit of sponge, putting rusty patches all over this thing before I hit it with the brown wash. And this gave it that nice, especially on these bare metal bits, that nice rusty look, and then showing through some areas of the rest of the paint job as well. Because the Corpsegrinder guys, they don't take good care of their vehicles. They lubricate it with unpleasant materials. So yeah, I went around stippling this. It was actually kind of fun, trying to think where areas would be worn and more disused and all that. I did leave the license plate blank, and I'd originally thought about putting KHRN for corn on there on the license plate, but in the end I didn't. I did something a little different, but it was fun. This part was me kind of visualizing, where this thing gets the most scuffs and damage, and then touching it up there in little spots. So once I had this part done, you can see I came back several times with the front, because I figured the front would be where they're ramming other vehicles and taking a lot of the most damage. I also thought at one point about putting a ram on it and decided against it. Here I am with the brown wash, and I put this on really heavy. This thing's out driving in the ash wastes. It's out in a really unpleasant environment, getting corroded, getting covered in gunk and dust and grime. and I wanted it to look it. This is not a vehicle that gets taken to the car wash very often, if ever. The only time it gets any kind of cleaning is basically when they have to hose it out enough to be able to climb inside again. So this thing is getting the full wash, the full treatment, so to speak. I did have a few issues with the top of it pooling. I had to come back several times because it's such a big flat surface. I had to kind of stipple it a bit more as it dried, just to make sure it didn't pool into obvious spots. But I avoided the glass. Initially I figured I didn't want it to look too grungy, too grimy. Thinking back and thinking about it, I probably should have put some on there. They look a little too clean. On the other hand, they have to be able to drive, so they'd have some cleaning going on. I thought about taking the windows out entirely and replacing it with some kind of grating or something like that, but I chose not to. Now, you can see once I had the brown wash all over everything, it quickly became very hard to hold on to this thing. It was not something I'd thought about very much before I started on it, but once I had it to this point, it was actually kind of a pain to try and paint it and everything all at once. So there's a lot of me trying to delicately reposition it and move it around so I can get all the edges of it. This is the first time I actually used this camera rig, so it was also a lot of me checking positioning of this thing and making sure I had it in the camera angle so everyone could see. But yeah, I put this brown wash all over everything. You can see me stippling the top there, trying to prevent it from pooling too much in one area. Same on the hood. The hood was weird because it is kind of curved and slanted, and it pooled in areas I didn't expect it to. And here it is after it's dried. It looks grungy, dirty, unpleasant. I went in there with some blood for the blood god, I think is the technical or whatever it is, and put some smears of blood on it. You can see on the front hood, and then coming out of the back doors, it's bad things are happening inside that thing. So I was tempted at one point to make those back two windows just red as well, but I decided not to. But yeah, here it is, the ambulance finished drying. As I said, I'd magnetized the top there just really simply. Right now it fits the autocannon. I'm also building a harpoon launcher for this thing because it seems like more of a Corpsegrinder Cult weapon. Here's the final shot of it. They're posed on the table. The other two Wasteland vehicles that I built and two of the Corpsegrinder Cult members painted by my son. It looked really good. I was really pleased with how it turned out. It definitely looks like something you don't want rolling up on you. So what do you all think? I would love to hear feedback on this. It was a interesting, kind of unique project. I've never done anything like this one before. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.